Think back to New Year's Eve, the countdown, the fireworks, the little promise you made to yourself. That was more than half a year ago. But be honest, it feels like it just happened. Now, think back to one summer vacation when you were 8, 6 weeks, and somehow it felt like an entire lifetime. Something strange is happening to your time. Every year feels a little shorter than the one before it. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why and the one real thing you can do about it. Let's start with the part everyone agrees on. The clock isn't changing. A second is a second. An hour is an hour. The Earth spins today at the same speed it spun when you were a kid. Measured time is identical for a 6-year-old and a 60-year-old. But felt time? Felt time is a different animal. Ask almost any adult and you'll hear the same thing. The years are speeding up. Months vanish. Whole decades fold up like paper. Ask a child, and you get the exact opposite. A car ride is endless. A school year is an era. Waiting for a birthday takes roughly forever. Same clocks, same planet, completely different time. So, which one of you is broken? The first serious answer showed up more than a century ago, and it starts with simple math. Back in the 1890s, a French philosopher named Paul Janet noticed something about the way we weigh our years. His idea goes like this. When you're 1 year old, a year is your entire life, 100% of everything you've ever known. When you're 10, a year is 1/10 of your life. When you're 50, that same year is 1/50th, a thin little slice. Each new year is a smaller piece of the whole pie. And your brain, the idea says, feels the slice, not the year. That's why the wait from one Christmas to the next nearly killed you at 7. That single year was a giant chunk of your entire existence. And it's why, at 40, Christmas seems to come around every few months. People call this the proportional theory. And if you run the numbers, it gets genuinely unsettling. Because if every year really feels like it's a fraction of your life, the years shrink fast. Do the math one way, and somewhere around your early 20s, half of your felt life is already behind you. Everything after that, the whole long stretch of adulthood, gets squeezed into the second half of the feeling. Sit with that for a second. Under this theory, childhood isn't just a chapter of your life. In felt time, it's half the book. It's a clean idea, it's an elegant idea, and it has a giant hole in it. Here's the problem. You don't actually experience your life as a fraction. Right now, you're not feeling this hour as one tiny sliver of your total existence. You're just feeling an hour. Tomorrow won't literally feel shorter than today because you're 1 day older. The proportional theory describes the pattern beautifully, but it never explains the machine. It never says what, inside your head, is actually speeding up. So scientists went looking for the machine, and the first place they looked was the obvious one. Maybe older brains just run a slower clock. Picture the experiment. Researchers sit people down, some young, some old. They say, close your eyes and tell us when 3 minutes have passed. If an older brain really ticks slower, the world outside would seem to rush past it. That alone could explain everything. So, did it? Not really. In tests like these, older people often do let a little extra time slip by. Their inner stopwatch seems to run slightly slow, but the difference is small, and it doesn't show up in every study. It's nowhere near big enough to explain how a decade can feel like it evaporated. Your minute is fine. Your hour is fine. Whatever is stealing your years, it isn't stealing your minutes. And that one clue flips the whole investigation. Because it means the speed up isn't happening while you live the time. It's happening later, when you look back at it. Here's a strange thing you've definitely felt. You go on a trip somewhere new, and while you're there, the days fly. You're busy, amazed, a little lost. Time races. Then you come home. You look back at the trip, and it feels enormous. 1 week away feels bigger than the whole month of routine before it. Time flew while it happened, then stretched out in memory. A boring week at work does the exact opposite. It crawls while you live it. You watch the clock, you refresh your inbox. Friday never comes, and then, looking back, it's nothing, a blank, gone. Psychologists sometimes call this the holiday paradox, and it reveals something big. You don't have one sense of time. You have two. There's the time you feel in the moment as it happens, and there's the time you feel in memory when you look back. And the two of them disagree constantly. When people say life is speeding up, they're almost never talking about the first clock. Nobody's minutes are racing. They're talking about the second one, the look back, the years in the rearview mirror looking impossibly short. So, the real question was never, why does time move faster? The real question is, why does your memory make less of it? And this is where we finally meet the machine. Here's how your brain seems to measure a stretch of the past. It doesn't check a calendar. It can't. It does something much simpler. It counts memories. When you look back at a chunk of your life, your brain quietly asks, how much stuff is in there? How many scenes? How many firsts? How many moments worth keeping? Lots of memories, and the chunk feels long. Few memories, and the chunk collapses. It feels like it barely happened. Your brain measures the past by how full it is, not by how long it took. No memories, no time. Scientists have even tested this rule in the most dramatic way you can imagine. A neuroscientist named David Eagleman took volunteers to a tower and dropped them, backwards into a giant net, from about 100 feet up. The fall lasted roughly 3 seconds, but afterwards, every single person swore it felt far longer. Here's the clever part. Each one wore a display on their wrist, flashing numbers just a little too fast to read. If time really slowed for them, if their eyes really sped up, they'd be able to read it during the fall. Nobody could. Their senses never sped up, but their terrified brains recorded that fall in extreme detail. And a thick recording, played back, reads as slow motion. Time didn't stretch. The memory did. Now, take that rule and look at childhood again. When you're a kid, almost everything is happening for the first time. First day of school, first bike, first best friend, first thunderstorm you actually remember. First time you swim where your feet can't touch the bottom. Your brain is drowning in new information, and new information gets the deluxe treatment. New experiences get recorded richly, in detail, in color, in feeling. That's simply how memory works. A single childhood summer can leave behind hundreds of separate scenes. Think of your own first day of school. You can probably still see it. The bag, the classroom, the smell of the hallway. Now try your 400th day of school. Nothing. It isn't even a memory anymore. It's a category. So, when you look back at it, your brain finds a thick, dense archive. And it concludes, that must have taken ages. The summer wasn't longer. The recording was just richer. Now look at your adult life. You wake up in the same bed, same commute, same desk, same faces, same lunch, same screen in the evening. Your brain has seen it all 1,000 times. So, it does the efficient thing. It stops recording. Not completely, but it compresses. 100 nearly identical days get merged into one thin file. A whole year of commutes becomes one memory of a commute. 1,000 lunches become one lunch. You can prove this to yourself right now. Try to remember one specific ordinary Tuesday from 3 years ago. Nothing comes. Not because it didn't happen, because your brain stamped it same as usual and threw the details away. A year with few new memories leaves a thin archive. And a thin archive looking back feels like a short year. That's the machine. That's the whole trick. Your years aren't getting shorter. They're getting emptier. Emptier of firsts. And here's the part I love. More than 130 years ago, long before brain scans existed, a psychologist saw all of this coming. His name was William James, one of the founders of modern psychology. In 1890, he wrote that the years feel shorter as we age, because life turns automatic. The firsts run out, he said. The days smooth themselves into routine, and the years, his words, grow hollow and collapse. He couldn't look inside a single neuron, and he'd already found the answer. Time doesn't fly because you're old. Time flies because life stops surprising you. Your memory even keeps proof of this, and it might be the most beautiful evidence of all. Ask an older person to tell you stories from their life. Any stories. Whatever comes to mind first. Scientists have done exactly this, many times, with thousands of people. And the memories don't come evenly from every decade. They cluster, heavily, between roughly age 10 and age 30. First loves, first jobs, leaving home, the friends who felt like family. the mistakes that changed everything. Researchers call it the reminiscence bump. Give a brain an entire lifetime to choose from, and it keeps reaching for that one stretch of youth. Why that stretch? Because that's where the firsts lived. That's where the archive is thickest. So the feeling that your early years were huge and the recent ones tiny, that's not nostalgia playing tricks. That's literally the shape of your memory. So let's put the whole picture together. That old proportional theory was pointing at something true. Each year really is a smaller share of your life, but the ratio was never the machine. The machine is memory, the density of memory. Childhood, everything new, everything recorded, archive thick, time feels vast. Adulthood, everything familiar, everything compressed, archive thin, time feels gone. And hidden inside that explanation is something quietly hopeful. Because a ratio can't be changed. You will never again be 8 years old, holding a summer worth a tenth of your life. But density? Density is up to you. Your brain doesn't care how old you are. It cares whether something is new. Give it a first, and it starts recording again. At 25, at 50, at 90. Take a different street home, and the walk gets its own file. Learn 10 words of a new language, and the Tuesday earns a scene. Cook a dish you can't pronounce. Talk to a stranger. Sleep somewhere you've never slept. None of it has to be big. Your brain doesn't need a mountain. It just needs a moment it hasn't seen before. None of this makes the clock tick slower. Nothing can. But it fills the archive. And a full archive, looking back, is a long, rich year, at any age. The fastest way to lose a decade is to make every day the same. The surest way to keep one is to keep collecting firsts. So, think back to New Year's Eve one more time. The countdown, the fireworks. The feeling that it was 5 minutes ago. The months since then didn't shrink. They just went unrecorded. Day after day stamped same as usual and quietly thrown away. Time was never speeding up. You were just running out of firsts. And that, unlike the clock, is something you can change tonight.